What's good, y'all? My name is Zach Young, and welcome back to Young Money Sports. So as most of y'all know, the NFL Draft was this past weekend, and I was a little more interested in this one because my team actually had their first round pick. Crazy, I know. So, did they take advantage of having this pick and draft someone that will bring them back to relevance? We'll get to that. Today, I'm going to be going over what all the Broncos got into this weekend. Not just the draft, but also a couple moves that they made afterwards. With the 12th pick in the first round, the Broncos selected quarterback Bo Nix from Oregon. I'm going to be honest, not a huge fan of this pick. Throughout the week, I was dreading that Denver would draft Nix or McCarthy, and that dread was only doubled whenever the Falcons took Michael Penix Jr. with the 8th overall pick. I will never understand taking a quarterback with your top 10 pick, especially after you just signed Kirk Cousins to a long-term contract. But back to Nix, I was never crazy impressed by him. On paper, he looks great. He threw 45 touchdowns last season in Oregon and has the record for completion percentage in a season. But there was never a time when I was watching him and I thought, man, I sure hope the Broncos find a way to get this guy in the draft. Don't get me wrong, I don't want Nix to fail. Far from it. I would love it if he proved me wrong and balled out and led the Broncos back to being respectable. But I wouldn't get my hopes up on that. The Broncos don't exactly have a great track record when it comes to developing offensive players as of late, especially skill positions. And I guess it could be worse. I mean, they could have traded up to get him. Listen, I know it sounds like I'm grasping at straws here, but give me a break. I'm a Broncos fan. I gotta look for any sort of positives, even in the worst situation. Otherwise, I'd be doing swanton bombs off my damn balcony. With the 76th pick in the third round, the Broncos selected edge rusher Jonah Ellis from Utah. This was a pick that I wasn't very excited about at first, but it started to grow on me as the rounds went on. Ellis was able to be an All-American defensive end in the Pac-12, so that's gotta mean something, right? Denver's pass rush was fairly hit or miss last season, but they're slowly but surely putting together a solid group of edge rushers to help with that. If he can sack Patrick Mahomes, then he's a keeper in my book. Ellis also showed that he can bolster a team's run defense, which would be huge for the Broncos, as their run defense was absolutely atrocious last season. Hopefully, he can be a good rotation player on the defensive line and fill a void that's been missing ever since Von Miller got traded. With the 102nd pick in the fourth round, the Broncos selected wide receiver Troy Franklin from Oregon. This is who I originally wanted Denver to take in the third round, but thankfully it all worked out. The Broncos actually traded up to get the All-American wide receiver, and I love this pick. He's able to get separation with his speed, and he can also make a man or two miss once he makes a catch. In a vacuum, this pick is good. Adding to a weak receiving core is always welcome. But what makes me love this pick is that this guy was Bo Nix's top target at Oregon. It makes sense. You pick a guy who you believe is your franchise quarterback, why not get one of his main targets from college if he's available? It worked out with Burrow and Chase. Now obviously, I don't think that Nix and Taylor will be as good as those two, but you get the idea. You automatically have a QB to wide receiver connection, which can make Nix more comfortable running the offense. And maybe with all this receiving help that Nix is getting, the Broncos can actually use the middle of the field when they're running pass plays, instead of just throwing screens or deep balls. I'm just saying, a man can dream. With the 145th pick in the 5th round, the Broncos selected cornerback Chris Abrams-Drain from Missouri. Denver has attempted to fill another hole in their defense with this selection, and for a 5th round pick, this isn't terrible. He was a first-team All-SEC selection last season, and he seems to be a very physical defensive back. He's someone I compare to a guy like Chris Harris Jr. He has potential to get some serious reps if he shows out, because besides Pat Surtain, the Broncos really don't have another consistently good cornerback. His competition is going to be guys who either got burnt like toast the entire year or spent the entire season on the IR. Like I said, the opportunity is there, it's just going to be on him to go take it. With the 147th pick in the 5th round, the Broncos selected running back Audric Estime from Notre Dame. I'm just confused by this pick. There are more quality receivers out there like Jamari Thrash and Johnny Wilson, and instead they picked a running back from Notre Dame of all places. That place mostly produces good players to block for skill players, not the skill players themselves. If they were going to get a running back, I would have preferred if they picked Rasheen Ali from Marshall. Now I'm sure that Estime could produce at the pro level in spurts. After all, he did score 29 touchdowns in 2 years after backing up Kyron Williams. But I mainly don't understand this because with this pick and the signing of Memphis running back Blake Watson, Denver now has 5 running backs on the roster. 3 of them are returners from last season, where they were each integral parts of the offense. Someone has got to be getting traded or cut, because there's no way you go into a game expecting to use 5 running backs, especially in the Broncos' slow offense. With the 235th pick in the 7th round, the Broncos selected receiver Devon Vele from Utah. Not a bad college receiver, he's able to make a good catch every now and then, but I doubt this dude ever sees the field. Peak will probably be chilling on the practice squad for a year or two. The most interesting thing about this guy is that he will turn 27 years old during this season. And it's not like he was in college forever, he went for 5 years. This dude entered college at the same age that I'm graduating. It's just crazy stuff, man. And with the 256th pick in the 7th round, the Broncos selected center Nick Gargiulo from South Carolina. A third-team All-SEC player ends this draft for Denver, and someone who they're hoping can fill Lloyd Cushenberry's spot after he left for Tennessee. Gargiulo has been thrown all over the line during his 5-year college career, playing center in the last 7 games of last season for the Gamecocks. Versatility is key for linemen, and that could go a long way for him. At one point or another, Gargiulo played every spot on the line during his time with Yale and South Carolina. You could say he's more of like a Swiss Army knife kind of lineman, which you know offensive line coaches have gotta love a guy like that. That'll definitely go a long way in helping him get to the main roster, and I'm never going to fault the team for trying to help their offensive line. And that will do it for the Broncos 2024 draft. Only time will tell if this class pans out, but right now, I would say that this draft was good, but not great. It all hinges on the development of Bo Nix. In my opinion, he will either go the way of Justin Herbert or Marcus Mariota. There is no in between for him. One more thing before I end the video. So the Broncos actually made another trade with the Jets. This time, the Broncos sent New York a 2026 6th round pick in exchange for defensive end John Franklin Myers. Franklin Myers also signed a new contract with the Broncos, signing for 2 years and for $15 million, with $10 million guaranteed. Like the last Jets move, this isn't a bad trade for Denver. They traded a day 3 pick to get some more help on the defensive line, at around $6 million less than what he was originally going to be owed. Can't really complain about that. But anyway, that's going to do it for this video. What did y'all think about your team's drafts? Did your team draft their savior? Let me know in the comments. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll catch y'all later.